In this lesson, we're going to look at alerts, but also in more detail with prompts. We're also going to talk about console logs. So this is another way that we can communicate information from our source code to developers, and then also looking at dev tools. So opening up our CodePen. In the previous lesson, we showed you how we can create these alerts whenever we click. We've got these alerts popping up, and I did update the CSS to make these divs look more like buttons because I found that they were just looking like just regular text. So I have updated that. So I just added some padding, a border, and I displayed it inline block. So to get them more to align and look more like buttons. So I don't want to focus too much on the CSS, and I want to just really get into the JavaScript. So besides doing regular alerts, we also have the ability to do something called a prompt. And the prompt is going to be, so you see I'm typing in a question here, and the difference between the prompt and the alert is that the alert is just a simple message, but the prompt starts out with this interaction. So if I typed in a name here and hit OK, we see we've got that question, but we're not actually retrieving any of that information quite yet. And the way that we can do that is set up a variable. So maybe I can just put it something like my name or something like that. And then after, we can console log out the my name. And I'm probably going to have to bring this back into our editor. So now I'm going to just type in test. And we've got our console log here, and we see that we get this test being returned back. So this probably isn't the best demonstration, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this source code, bring it back into our source code here that we're using within CodePen, and I'm going to close off some of that, save that, and now I'm going to show you what we mean by console log and how this is being used. So we saw that what the prompt does and how it differs from alert is it asks us a question. So this just means that we have actually the ability to take back information that the user is inputting and use it within our JavaScript. But the problem was that we had nothing to hold that information. And that's where variables come in. They give us the ability to pick up and hold information and then output and use it later on. And of course, we're going to talk about this in more detail, all the different types of variables and how to use variables more in depth in the upcoming lessons. But for now, it's just important to understand that we have a holder for that response. So now with the prompt, my name becomes whatever that response was from the user, and then we're using console log to display out that information because we have really no way of displaying that information, and now we can actually use my name as a variable and do something with it. We can do that within our JavaScript. And this is where we use console log, because console log gives us the ability to send information back to the developer or through the interaction through the dev tools, and be able to actually see that my name has a value and this is what the value of my name is. And that helps us with development further along, as we know that now at this point we can use my name in various aspects. So let's open up our browser, go to our demo site, and I'm going to refresh this. And of course I don't have the CSS in here yet. So I've already got my dev tools open, and again I'm using Chrome because Chrome really does have right out of the box some of the best developer tools for developing websites, and this is why it's probably one of the favorites for people that are trying to practice and write code, and also for developers of code. So let's open this up and do the click me. We see we've got the prompt. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create that user interaction and I'm going to send that response. And we see that we've got this response showing up within our console. So this is what I mean by the console, because it gives you the ability to get some feedback and information back from your JavaScript source code. And also in turn, we can also set values in here as well, and we can really do some really cool debugging within the console as well. What I can do now is I can set a new value for my name, and I could do something like new value or whatever I want to do, enter that in, and now we see that this container, this my name, now contains a new value. So it just simply outputs it and confirms it. So now if I do console log, and if I enter in that same variable, we see that we get this new value gets output in there, because now this my name contains this new value that I've entered in. And all of this is done through DevTools. So I didn't actually have to go back through my JavaScript and update the code there. I can simply see it out over here. So maybe something else that I can do is I can change this to output my name. So now the process is going to be that I'm going to click button 2, I'm going to enter in a name, then I click button 3, and I can just console log out that name whenever I click button 3. And with JavaScript, whenever you make some changes, you got to remember that you do need to refresh the page because it runs within the browser. So once the browser has gone through the JavaScript source code, in order for any changes to take place, it has to refresh that source code. So first we're going to do this one, and you can see that when I tried to click me 3 first, I can see that I threw an error because we haven't yet defined my name. So there's no value for my name. It doesn't know what my name means. It's up until we actually do a definition that my name equals whatever is returned from the prompt that we can begin to start using and interacting with the my name. And the reason that we're still not getting the my name being defined is that the my name is being defined within here. So in order to set up the variable and set up something that we can use and reuse, we're going to set my name maybe to blank at first and get rid of this variable declaration. And at this point we can use my name universally. So I'm going to just simply refresh that and type in a value for the my name, and now whenever we click the button 3, we simply get that value for my name, and I can update it, and then we get that updated value. And just like last time, I can go back into the console and I can set a totally new value for the contents of my name, and now when I click me 3, we see that we've got this new value. So my name is a container, it's holding this value, so no matter where we're changing it, the value of my name is always going to be equal to totally new value. And of course, when we hadn't defined it earlier and we were trying to get an output for the my name value, we were throwing errors because we hadn't yet defined it. So in the next lesson, we're going to look at variables in more detail because these are the fundamental core concepts that you need to understand in order to start building out more complex JavaScript. And we're also going to move away from some of these pre-built, predefined functions like prompt and alert, because you don't really see these as ways of interacting with the user. You don't really see them very much. You might have seen them before, maybe 10-15 years ago, as they were more common, but now there's a lot better ways to present the user interaction and present a better experience for the user. And I'm going to be going through that within the upcoming lessons. I promise you that we're going to be providing a much better user interactive experience where you can interact with your users, not having these alerts and these prompts, and perform that same functionality but within a better presentation. So all of that is coming up in the next set of lessons.